The NBA is not rigged. That was clickbait. And you're here, you fell for it, so you might as well finish the video. Because while the NBA isn't rigged in the way I normally think of the word, there's a little something funny going on with the playoffs. And I've got the data to back it up.
Chance at a three-point play for the Raptors.
So a little background on the NBA playoffs, which most of you know, but maybe haven't thought of in this way, but I tend to see everything as just a big pile of numbers, which is slowly driving me insane, but hopefully makes for a few good YouTube videos. But numbers. Let's do the numbers. The NBA playoffs have 16 teams playing a total of 15 series. One team eliminated each series until you're left with one champion. Each series can go between 4 and 7 games, so the total number of games played is a minimum of 60 up to a maximum of 105. The difference there is 45 games, which is a lot. It's more than half of any one team's 82-game regular season. 45 games is also a huge difference financially. Every potential playoff game that doesn't happen is millions of dollars in lost potential revenue. Even basic math, which is the only kind I can do, makes that clear. To put a rough figure on it, let's say there's 20,000 tickets per game at $100 a seat. That's $2 million right there. Add in TV commercials, streaming ads, concessions. Did you know that NBA fans eat twice as many hot dogs at playoff games than they do at regular season games? Of course you didn't, because I just made it up. But I don't think it's crazy to estimate that ticket sales make up just half of overall revenue, which would mean that every additional playoff game adds $4 million in revenue to the league. So 45 games that either may or may not happen is a $180 million incentive to see every series go as long as possible. Need help imagining that? This guy's lying on $80 million, or less than half of that. I'm not saying that the NBA is doing anything because of that incentive. Maybe you are, but I can't hear you. This is YouTube. But no one can deny that the incentive is there, and it is 2 1/4 of these piles, roughly speaking. Looking from that perspective, the 2017 NBA playoffs did not live up to their financial potential. There were 79 playoff games that year, partially because of the juggernaut that was the Golden State Warriors. But overall, we saw 5 sweeps out of 15 series, only 2 Game 7s, and in those pivotal finals and conference finals, those nationally televised, primetime, heavily promoted, big money, double hot dog games, there were only 14 out of a potential maximum of 21. Over the last 5 years, we have consistently seen the number of playoff games played increase. From that low mark in 2017, up through to 2022, which saw just 1 sweep and 3 Game 7s. And those big money, high drama series at the end, 18 games out of a potential 21. This is undeniably a positive for the NBA financially. Those mean more tickets sold, more hot dogs eaten, more commercials watched, games that in one universe happen and in another are snapped out of existence. So that's the context. Fact check me if you want, and if you find an error, just don't tell YouTube. I think they remove videos that have math mistakes. But the context, keep that bigger picture in mind when we start diving into the data. But before that, the singular of data is anecdote, so let me start with 2 of those. Anecdote number 1, 2022 playoffs, first round, Raptors, 76ers. Raptors are the 5 seed, so the series starts in Philadelphia. 76ers lead nearly wire to wire, with Tyrese Maxey going off for 38 points. The 76ers shoot 50% from beyond the arc and score 29 points from the free throw line alone. They shot 34 free throws, while the Raptors shot 23, a stat I'm going to be tracking here throughout the series. Just saying, in a purely factual way, that refs can't make a player miss a shot or control who grabs a loose ball, but they can send players to the free throw line. Just saying. Sixers win by 20. Game 2, still in Philly. Sixers take a big lead in the second and never look back. ends up as a 15-point margin, and the 76ers have a 16-point advantage at the free throw line on 30 free throw attempts to the Raptors' 12. Maybe that means nothing. Some players get to the line a lot, like Embiid, who shot 14 free throws alone that game, and some players don't. Some teams get to the line a lot, some don't. And so far in this series, the 76ers are the team that does get to the line. They've so far taken 29 more free throws than the Raptors in 2 games. Final score, 112-97. Game 3, the series shifts to Toronto. The Raptors run out to a big lead in the second, but the 76ers close the gap and the game would go to overtime. The 76ers get to the line less, just 20 times, but still hold the edge in that stat over the Raptors' 18. Embiid hits the dagger 3 near the overtime buzzer, Raptors can't get a shot off, and now they're on the brink. That brings us to a critical moment for league revenues. Another 76ers win, and those last 3 potential games vanish. And who will eat all those hot dogs that are currently being made for the Game 5 attendees? Outside of NBA games, people in Philadelphia don't eat hot dogs, they eat cheesesteaks. Here we go. Game 4. Toronto. Raptors on the brink. Revenue on the line. 100,000 hot dogs sitting waiting in Pennsylvania somewhere. Raptors run out to a big lead in the second. It gets close in the third, and then they run away with it in the fourth. The Raptors go to the line 35 times. More than they had been to the line in games 2 and 3 combined. Raptors as a team hold a 7-point edge in points from the line in an 8-point victory. That's my first anecdote. Not saying anything yet, just telling you a story. That's what YouTube is for, telling stories. Anecdote number 2. I'll get through this one faster since I think you see where I'm heading because you're a very intelligent viewer. Please like and subscribe. Western Conference Semis, Warriors and Grizzlies. Game 1 in Memphis. Morant scores 34, Curry 24. Pretty even at the line. 20 free throws for the Warriors, 24 for the Grizzlies. Klay hits a big 3 at the end. Warriors up 1-0 in the series. Game 2. Morant heats up, scoring 47, including 12 from the line, though again, the teams are pretty even. 18 free throws for the Warriors, 21 for the Grizzlies. Morant scores the last 15 points in the fourth, leading them to a 5-point victory, series even. Let's go to California. Game 3, not close. Warriors make 62% of their field goals, including more than half of their threes. 30 for Curry, 27 for Poole, 21 for Klay. Blowout, 30-point victory. But what about the free throws, you ask? Because you're paying attention. Those are exactly even, 21 per team. Warriors up 2-1. Game 4, a more competitive game all the way, with the Grizzlies leading most of the game, but never by much, and Curry rallies at the end, hitting 8 free throws in a row in the last 46 seconds of the game, leading to our first big edge at the line. The Warriors take 22, the Grizzlies 15. Although through 47 minutes and 14 seconds of play, that margin was almost exactly even. Warriors with a 3-point victory, and now 3 wins in the series. Potential series-ending game now, in Memphis, in Game 5. That's called foreshadowing. Game 5. Ticket revenue already in hand for the league for a potential Game 6. A truckload of hot dogs sitting in the hot California sun somewhere. They don't even refrigerate them. Either they get eaten at Game 6 or they get thrown away. Memphis takes a huge lead in the second and don't look back. They go to the line 30 times, 6 more times than their previous series high. The Warriors, 13, 5 fewer than their series low. In a series that had previously been pretty even at the line, the Grizzlies have an advantage of 17 in attempts, 13 in points. 134-95, start boiling the hot dogs. Anecdotes, done. Let's do some math. First, we'll create a metric. I need something that reflects what hopefully was going through your head as you looked at the free throw totals. I know that teams differ a lot in terms of how much they get to the line. The Bulls, for instance, averaged about 14 attempts per game in the 2022 playoffs, and the Pelicans averaged twice as many at almost 29. It's probably also something that changes based on specific matchups. I believe that certain teams might get to the line more against specific opponents than others. But luckily, in the playoffs, we have the same teams facing each other multiple times. So we can just use the in-series average and see how the next game compares. Let's take the Toronto Philly series. In their first 3 games, as the 76ers were taking a 3-0 lead, they were averaging more than 10 attempts per game more than the Raptors. In Game 4, that swung hard to the Raptors when they had 10 more attempts than the 76ers. To keep this metric consistent, I'm always going to calculate the series favorite, meaning who had the home court advantage, minus the series underdog, meaning who did not. So here's our metric. Free throw differential. Super simple. How much did each game vary from the series average to date? In this case, it's a swing of 20. Keep in mind, positive numbers mean a swing to the favorite, negative numbers mean a swing to the underdog. Super simple. I'm a simple man. I like simple metrics. The next thing we need to formalize mathematically is around the financial incentives. Now, I'm not saying that the NBA wants a team that's down 0-3 to win, although you can say that. I won't stop you, and there's the First Amendment and all. I'm saying that there is a financial benefit to the NBA if a team down 0-3 wins the next game, which I think is a pretty factual statement. Although if you want to say that there's a strong implication under that statement, again, I won't stop you. You have the First Amendment, and you're probably bigger than the spreadsheet guy on YouTube. So let's say that they have a strong financial incentive to see that underdog win. I'm going to say the same for 1-3 and 2-3 and even 0-2, although I suppose that's debatable. 1-2, let's call that a weak incentive. We can flip that around to the situations where the underdog has the series lead. Strong incentive towards the favorite at 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 3-2, and weak at 2-1. You may put different assessments here, but this is my video, and I'm in charge. Mom said so. The other scenarios, tied series, 1-0, 0-1, let's call that no incentive. So in these orange boxes, the league might be hoping for a win by the underdog. In blue, they might be hoping for a win by the favorite. It's not libel if you use the word might. That might be true. All right, we've got the prep work done. We've got a free throw differential metric that checks in-series changes. We've assigned financial incentives to every potential series scenario. I've done some light stretching. I've hydrated. It's time for the data. Let's open Excel and make a spreadsheet. Boom. Every 2022 playoff game ready for analysis. The teams, the final score, the free throws. Get ready because we're going to add some formulas, calculations, get some conditional formatting. I don't know what you do for fun, but I do this. Laugh all you want at a guy that loves spreadsheets, but hey, you're watching a guy make a spreadsheet on YouTube, so you may be cooler than me, but it's not by much. And I just bought new pants. So, the home-away organization of the data is not ideal, so I've created an additional 2 columns to show who is the favorite and who is the underdog in each game. That allows me to generate the free throw differential metric more easily, calculate the differential in each game, calculate a running average for the series to date, then calculate the swing in each game from that running average. There's our free throw differential metric. Yep, I'm that fast. Next step, tag every game in the playoffs with a financial incentive based on the score in the series. If you recall the coloring of our table, I've used the same colors here. A quick note on that. You're seeing a lot of orange here, and not a lot of blue. That's true almost every year, but in 2022, if you recall, home teams did particularly well. So we typically saw teams with home court advantage taking series leads. Let's look at the bracket again. Take a look at the first round in both conferences. 1-4-3-2, 1-4-3-2. No series upsets. In the East, the finals were the top 2 seeds. Again, no upsets. And in the West, while there were 2 upsets in the semis, wasn't a massive surprise to see Luka and Curry take down Phoenix and Memphis. But overall, lots of home teams piling up wins, so more orange than blue. All right, we've got a data set now. We've got our metric, free throw differential. We've got incentives. So let's see if our anecdotes extrapolate to the full 2022 playoffs. I'm going to replace the labels in this table with the average free throw differential for that scenario. Two things you should be looking for. First, the size of the numbers. If free throws are a relatively random statistic from game to game, then we expect small numbers. 1s, 2s, 3s, okay, you know what small numbers are. But since we're averaging multiple games in each category, you'd think some swing up a little, some swing down, averages get close to 0. Second thing to look for, positives and negatives. Remember, greater than 0 means a swing to the favorite. Less than 0, swing to the underdog. If the entire playoffs were similar to our anecdotes, then we will expect to see negative numbers in these orange boxes, meaning that when the NBA had a financial incentive to see the underdog win, the free throw differential swung to the underdog. And we'd expect to see positive numbers in these blue boxes. Free throws swing to the favorite when they get down in the series. Everybody still with me? Ready? Here's the results. Conspiracy theorists rejoice because we now have a conspiracy theory added to the pile. As the financial incentives change, so do the free throws, in mostly the way we expected. A few things as you look at the results. As we suspected, free throw differential moves in a way that would tend to make series longer, towards the underdog when they're down, towards the favorite when they're down. That's clear. But also, in a way, these numbers are cumulative. If you think about how I did the math, look across the top row. Even though the free throw differential swung to the underdog by 4 in Game 3 when they were down 0-2, 4 of those 7 teams still lost. But that swung the running average down, and then we saw an additional negative swing of 6.6 in the next game when they were down 0-3. And in the cases where the underdog won, you shift into this box, where it swung another 12 in their direction. And then if the underdog lost that game, which they did twice, it then swung into this box with another negative number. Another thing, I'll acknowledge that some of these boxes have a small sample size, especially in blue, because again, home cooking was a strong advantage in 2022. This 17, you saw it already if you were paying attention, and if you weren't, see me after class, we're going to have another little talk. It was Memphis Golden State. Sample size of 1, what can you do? And finally, I'll note one exception, where underdogs up 2-1 saw the free throw differential move towards them in Game 4. But in those 3 games, despite the differential moving against them, 2 of the favorites evened up the series, in not particularly close games, so the NBA arguably got the result that aligns with their financial incentive. And the one other game? Well, I already talked about it. It's the Golden State game where Curry shot 8 free throws in the last 46 seconds, swinging the total heavily in their favor. So let's summarize with 3 purely factual statements. 1, the NBA has a financial incentive to see series go longer. 2, no one likes to see hot dogs thrown away. 3, teams behind in a series see an advantageous swing in free throw differential as compared to the running average of previous games. Wow, that sounded smart. Didn't it sound smart? I used the word advantageous. All right, you've seen the anecdotes, you've seen the data, I've shown my work. We should do devil's advocate. Hang on. Let me get into character. Okay. All of this is nothing but a small correlation in a small sample size of cherry-picked data impacted by many other variables. I go hard at myself as devil's advocate, I do. First off, you're ignoring one big element, which is home court advantage. I looked through your analysis. I saw you calculated it yourself. Home teams averaged 2.5 more free throws than away teams during the playoffs. Go back to your series table. You know what else happens when an underdog is down 0-2? They get to play Game 3 at home. Game 5 of Memphis Golden State, you said it yourself, it was back in Memphis. And have you ever played basketball? Seriously, like in a competitive game where you desperately wanted to win, you play harder, you drive more aggressively, you tighten up your defense. That's why you're seeing these swings, because there is no conspiracy. Competitive integrity is a top priority for the NBA. The refs are calling the plays as they see them. And the league is definitely not risking its brand to squeeze one more game out of a Raptors 76ers series. The Canadian dollar is a coin with like a duck on it. I don't think the league even bothers bringing those back to the US. Your analysis is flawed, your logic is flawed, and your conclusion is wrong. Sincerely, the devil. There you go. There's my best devil's advocate argument. Kinda mean, but I'm allowed. I'm talking to myself. So what's the conclusion? I'm just the spreadsheet guy. You can draw your own conclusion. Does the NBA have its thumb on the scale when revenue's on the line? Are the referees, who stand to benefit from the league's financial success, consciously or subconsciously leaning towards teams that can extend series? Do team owners have the loved ones of referees locked in an in-stadium dungeon with their very lives in the balance dependent on the outcome of the game happening literally 50 feet above their heads? The last one? I'm thinking no. But for the others, you tell me in the comments.